So recently, some previously unreleased footage of suspect Tyler Robinson was released by Chuck Keeler on YouTube. Now this showed the suspect heading in the direction of the Utah University campus around 11:44 AM. In this video, the suspect is seen stopping at an intersection when a mysterious vehicle appears to pull alongside. So in this video, I want to break down what I see personally and also some interesting details that may have been missed. Take a look at the following. Okay, so let's start this footage at normal speed here. 1x speed. We'll drop it down to 0.25 when there's an interesting talking point here. But here we can see the suspect coming into frame. We see him passing the first white vehicle. Now, he's walking downhill, so I'd imagine that the limp that you see maybe 5 or 6 minutes later as he turns the bend, it's a little bit easier to walk downhill, so the limp isn't as evident when we see this part of the video. However, it does seem to reappear as we move further forward. But take a look here. Now, the right leg, it seems that he's dragging his right leg ever so slightly. Let's drop this down to 0.25. And just keep your eyes on the right leg as the car passes. It seems that he's just dragging the right leg. It's not going as far forward as it would normally. It's a little bit unnatural, shall we say. Now, it's this point here that I wish to draw people's attention to. To me, this looks like he's receiving a phone call. Now, again, you have to be so careful with footage like this. It's such poor quality. It's very, very grainy. It's easy to see something that simply isn't there. But take a look at this. In my opinion, he's walking along here. He looks down, looks at his phone, takes a phone call. Now, I can't tell if it's his left or his right hand, but to me it's fairly evident that as he's walking along, the head goes down, the phone comes out, he's taking a phone call. Again, watch again. Walking along. Face goes down, looks at his phone, takes a phone call. Phone goes back in the pocket. So, as I say, at this stage, the limp isn't really that evident, is it? It's not really that clear. So he's walking along and he stops at the end of this road here. He stops at the intersection. Now, just before that, I believe he gets out his phone again. Now, of course, this could be completely innocent. He could be checking where he's going, checking the time. He could be checking absolutely anything. But it's interesting that the phone seems to make a reappearance. You see here, phone coming out of the pocket right there. Looks at the phone, stops at the intersection. Now at this point, this mysterious vehicle comes along. It seems to pull into the right, slows right down by where the suspect is stood. Goes past the suspect, and you can tell he's pulled into the right because he has to come out to the left to avoid this dark car that's ahead of him. You can see him turning left here, coming back out onto the road. And of course, again, the phone, the car, the mysterious car, it could all be just a mere coincidence. But it's interesting, isn't it, that this guy is seemingly walking towards the university campus. There's this quick check of the phone right here. Quick phone call maybe. Phone goes back in the pocket. Walks past the blue car. Gets down towards the intersection, checks the phone again. Right here, you see the phone coming out right here. Phone comes out the pocket, checks the phone, stops at the intersection. At this point, we have the car pulling into the right-hand side alongside the suspect. Seems to slow right down. And then moves off to the left, out back onto the road and past the dark vehicle. Now, this is where the limp, interestingly enough, seems to reappear. Now, again, of course, he's walking downhill. It could be a lot easier to walk downhill. It may not impact him as much than walking on the flat. Now, I think that when he gets to the bottom here, it sort of levels out a little bit. So the limp may now become a little bit more apparent, which we do actually see. Now, this guy stays here behind this pole for a matter of seconds. As you can see there, that car drives off. Now, obviously it's so grainy, it's hard to tell, but is he looking down at his phone there, checking something, checking where he is maybe, checking the time? You know, I've got to get there, you know, I've got to make a move, I've got to get there quickly, I've got to make sure I time this correctly. Is he receiving some sort of message? Is he checking something? I don't know. So he stays there, as I say, for a few seconds and then decides to continue onwards. Let's put this back to normal speed. There we go. Phone goes back in the pocket and then off he goes. And check the limp now. Look at that. I mean, that's completely different. That's completely different to what we saw just a matter of moments ago. Look, just barely noticeable there, walking downhill. But as soon as he reaches the flat, that's when the trouble starts. And obviously this is literally just around the corner from that very famous TMZ footage where he's seen literally staggering across the road as if he's had 10 pints of Stella. You know, it's in complete contrast to what we see just a few minutes ago when he's walking downhill. He doesn't seem to be struggling here at all. You know, maybe he's got the odd little bit of a limp, but it's not really that obvious. However, when he reaches the flat, that's when the problems begin. But for me, as I say, we don't really know, do we, about this vehicle? Is there some connection here? Was he dropping something off, picking something up, passing on some sort of message? And why is he using his phone back here? When you play this in normal speed, it's incredibly quick. Let's just take it back here. So it goes past the second car. Looks at the phone now. Phone back down into the pocket. Phone into the pocket, carries on. Now, you know, is that him adjusting the straps on his backpack? You know, am I imagining that? I don't know. To me, especially when you slow it down, it really does seem that he's quickly looking down at the phone. So he's walking normally here. Pulls the phone out, looks at the phone, up to the head. Back in the pocket. And as I say, when you play it at normal speed, it's, you know, it's so quick. It's just, you know, instantaneous, like straight up in the pocket. That's it. I mean, I don't know. Let me know what you think. You know, is that a phone call? Is that just something else? Is he just, as I say, adjusting his strap on his backpack, putting something in his pocket? To me, when you take a close look at it, it really does look like that he's pulled the phone out. He looks at the phone, answers the phone, then puts it back in his pocket. So, looks at the phone, up to the ear, back in the pocket. Now, to me, that, you know, that leads to further questions, doesn't it? Who's calling him? Why are they calling him? Is he making a call himself? Is he letting someone know where he is? And it all seems to, you know, you can't really say it's connected, can you? But it's just a bit of a coincidence that after this point, the phone then comes out again at the bottom here, right by the intersection. At this stage, right here, he waits. The car comes along, slows right down, and then drives off. He stays there for a matter of, you know, 10, 15 seconds. The limp starts to reappear, and off he goes. Now remember, as he makes his way further down this road, he then takes a left towards the university campus car park, where he's then caught on the following footage, on the following CCTVs. The limp is, you know, a lot more exaggerated at this point, and he's just about to enter the university campus. Now, in regard to the vehicle, I did a little bit of research, and I don't think I've quite hit the nail in terms of finding out exactly what this vehicle is. The closest that I could come up with is a GMC Yukon XL Denali. Hopefully I've pronounced that right, probably haven't. But a GMC Yukon XL Denali. But I've shown it to some people and they're saying, no, it's not quite right. It's not the same vehicle. If anyone stateside knows what vehicle this is or recognises this vehicle, do let me know in the comment section below.